My name is Becky Hothersall and I am the Development Officer for a project called Taking Action on Rural Poverty, which is led by the Poverty Alliance. If you don't know us, on the next slide you might learn a little bit about us, not in the colour I thought it was in there, about the changes that we want to see. Essentially we campaign, we're a membership organisation that we campaign with our members on ensuring that there's access to high quality services available to everybody, to increase public support for anti-poverty work, and to make sure that people have better opportunities to participate. And you heard before about some of the work that's done through our Get Heard Scotland projects, and also to ensure that people have adequate incomes or low enough costs to be able to get by on what they've got. This one also should have some text on it. In fact, there's 5 slides that aren't there. Okay. Well, you would have liked this one. That's a map and a graph. So, yeah. The reason that our project is focusing on rural poverty is that although official statistics suggest that poverty is actually slightly less severe in rural communities than in urban ones, there's like a little line down, up. The urban ones, those overall rates mask differences between and within communities, and so a lot of that is driven by accessible rural areas that have good access to services in bigger areas. And we also know that measures of poverty, I've heard a lot of people speaking about the Scottish Index of Multiple Deprivation and how it doesn't pick up on pockets of deprivation, particularly in rural areas where that can be a really sort of small number of households sat between more affluent households. And so the other things that are distinctive about rural poverty, I won't try and cover the whole lot in a 15-minute talk, but essentially common features include a higher cost of living, insecure and seasonal incomes, and some really significant challenges in accessing services. And essentially policy making and service design don't systematically reflect these factors. So our project, which you also can't see the slide for, is focusing on addressing what we call the rural poverty premium, and that's the double whammy of extra costs that come from living rurally and also from not having a lot of money to begin with, where you end up spending a higher proportion of your limited resources on basic services and goods. So this is where I was going to leave you to read the text, so I'm not too quick about it, but anyway. The 3 key objectives of our project are, the first one is to support people with lived experience, to collaborate with community and voluntary organisations and with the private sector and public bodies so that people can collaborate more easily to address the rural poverty premium. And alongside that, we're working with community and voluntary organisations to help them to network more, take around a bit of capacity for them, and to undertake anti-poverty advocacy work. So a lot of the time that's about supporting organisations who are doing anti-poverty work, but it's not what they set out to do. They're supporting their communities in the way that their communities need, and that has slid into being anti-poverty work, but they've not necessarily come at it from that angle originally. And so sometimes it's about the way that they frame their work in order to be eligible for anti-poverty funding, or a way to gain support that's needed within the local community for pieces of work that are sort of different from their initial purpose. And the other is that we're investing some seed funding in a project in each of our local areas, which I'll tell you about in a moment, to try to identify how we can work with communities to reduce the costs of living in our local areas. Okay, I'm now caught up with this slide, which was the wide participation slide, but I'm going to skip past that one because I think it's been really well covered today, and I'll go to this really informative one, which tells you about how to do effective participation. We do it like that. Okay. Right, well I think, again, I get the impression that this is an audience that knows how to do that. This... Come on. each of those dots. Within taking action on rural poverty, we've been setting up a citizens panel in each of 2 rural areas that are very different. Rural Aberdeenshire, my colleague Annie is working closely with Net and the Net's team, and I get jealous a lot of the time about how much has come before and some of the structures and the experience that's in place. Whereas in Argyll and Bute, we've got fantastic colleagues within the council and the third sector interface who are working to support on this, and we've got amazing input from our panellists. We've got a lot of people coming at it from not having had opportunities to participate in decision making previously, and so we're taking a little bit more gently, we're spending a bit more time gaining our confidence, working out where our priorities lie, and just getting a feel for how we do it. But we're really having a really good time when we do it. I'm really proud to say that those dots usually sit on the map, and if they did, you would see that we've got really quite a good geographic representation. Within 13 people, we're never going to have, it's only ever going to be a snapshot. That's not going to be a representative population for Argyll and Bute. But geographically, we've done pretty well, which is quite challenging. And one of the main ways that we do this is that we meet online. And I probably should have put this slide on before, but you wouldn't know because let's see. This panel development came out of some previous work that the Poverty Alliance did with Argyll and Bute Council, providing poverty awareness training for council staff and elected members in 2021-22. And there was a real desire to build on this, and we've got a particularly good ally in Fergus Walker, who is the manager of the Revenues and Benefits team, who's a really passionate voice for supporting our communities better and has this unenviable role of trying to manage council tax income and benefits and be supporting people while also chasing them up for money that they owe, and has been doing great work with our Citizens Advice Centre and Bureau and other local organisations about public sector debt recovery. And so it's been great to have him and to have Taki Suleiman, who is the CEO of our local third sector interface, act as a sort of light touch oversight view for us to align our work, make sure we know what's going on with each other, have opportunities to feed into each other's processes. So as I say, the panel is absolutely central to what we've been doing. We've got a learning partners group which is sitting across the whole of the Taking Action on Rural Poverty project, and we've been working to build an anti-poverty network at the same time. And the real point of the panel was to create a structure for the voice of lived experience to be heard in decision making. And Fergus's sort of dream is, if we can kind of provide the proof of concept for how we do this and demonstrate how it works and what the cost would be and that it's feasible across Argyll and Bute, one day it would be great for the council to have a panel, and when policy decisions are being made, the first step to be on what does the panel think of this. So we started last May, and we are coming up to our 12th meeting. We've been over nearly a year, and we have monthly meetings. That is really weird, okay, we have monthly meetings via Zoom, usually for 2 hours on a Tuesday morning, and we also provide other opportunities for members of the panel to participate in events outside of those, but the core of it is our monthly meetings. In building the panel, we had really huge support from, I've picked up from an event I was at last week, my colleague Katrina was using the phrase the essential sector rather than the third sector. I think we should all just blanket adopt that. And it was our local organisations, council officers, council teams, and our third sector interface. We would never have met our amazing panel without them, because everybody knew where to go and who to ask, and because I'd worked with them in previous jobs, people were really trusting and kind to me about saying, yes, you can come and talk to people. So I primarily met people by attending existing groups in support organisations around Argyll and Bute. In some places I did little drop-in sessions where people came to hear about the project. I had a leaflet that I jealously guarded and would only hand out one at a time so that we didn't end up with bots because we do offer participation vouchers, and as soon as you send that out to the world of social media, from previous projects we found that we end up with people phoning from the south of England and all sorts of things. And sometimes people passed on my details to individuals. I'm really sad. I was supposed to be doing this presentation with Roxy, who... Are we going to get any more pictures of Roxy? No, we're not. I've got lots of pictures of Roxy on the screen, and Roxy's just such a fantastic advocate for participation. We met her because she volunteers at the Snowdrop Centre, which is an amazing community centre in Argyll and and there's actually on the screen here, there's a poem that she wrote about the Forget Me Not Memory Choir, which is a dementia choir that she makes the tea for and sings in. And they're available for gigs, by the way, if anyone's looking. And she's got a bit that says, I needed to be needed, I needed to look after others, so I was honoured to become the choir's chaiwala, the tea lady. Roxy's family's from Pakistan, she's very Pakistani. And that is absolutely what she does. She looks after us as much as we look after her. And when she couldn't come, she left me a long voice note telling me that she hoped my travel had gone okay and that I was going to get a chance to catch up with my family. But she couldn't come today because she'd been really ill with a virus that's affected her, and she got long COVID, so it gets very badly hit by these viruses. And I'm just really sad that I can't put her face up here more clearly, because I've done make a little montage of her. But yeah, she is third from the left at the back in that picture there, singing with the choir. And she's been there since the start, comes along to every session and is always so generous in sharing her experiences, giving suggestions, being really positive and looking after other members of the group who are feeling less sure of themselves. So, we're getting bits of time. Okay, on to the next one. Within the group, just a little snapshot again, some of the ways that we tried to balance it across, based on Scottish Government's priority families groups, but also an awareness of what's going on locally and what local need is. So we would, like a lot of panels, we have more women than men, but we've got 3 men on the panel, we've got 3 people from minoritized ethnicities, and we're really honoured to have 3 new Scots on the team who are all absolutely amazing. And we've got a lot of people who have disabilities or long-term conditions, and for a lot of people this is an opportunity for them to be able to participate, to do something within their community when they can't get out and do the things that they used to do, or because they have caring responsibilities. Some of the rules considerations that came in, and as I've gone through this, I've tried to sort of weave in some of the things that Roxy would have told you about her experiences. For her, it's connectivity. So she said, if it hadn't been for Poverty Alliance giving me the dongle, this is a Wi-Fi unit, I wouldn't have been able to join the panel or even to use social media. Being rural is my connection and my link to people now. It's my lifeline, and I've never done anything like this before by Zoom. So she threw herself into it, and that's made all the difference. That's ended up working really well for us to work digitally rather than in person, because of the rural considerations of the time, expense, and general impossibility of meeting up in person. Another consideration in rural areas is just both the support and the stigma, the double-edged sword that comes from everyone knowing everyone. A couple of adaptations, again, had some nice pictures, but a couple of adaptations that we've made based on sort of these more rural needs has been really making sure we had plenty of resource and put some time into making sure people had access to data, a device that they can use. So we provided a laptop or a tablet to a few people where needed, or a space where they can join us from. In some cases, and Roxy again was a great example, panellists identified better vouchers, because we've always had a range of vouchers that people could use, but if you've only got a co-op in the entire of your village, or if you've got nothing that you can use, or if Amazon won't deliver to you because of your location, which does happen, then we needed to work around that. And in Roxy's case, she asked for her voucher to be used at the Snowdrop Centre, where she can get complementary therapies, which which is brilliant because she was so pleased that then the money is going back into the local community to pay the therapists who work there. And the other thing has been a flexible approach to childcare to allow people to participate with their kids there if they need to. So we've been co-designing processes, we've been feeding into guidelines, we set up our own working together agreement which we use to evaluate what we're doing. And we spent the first several sessions sharing experiences, working out what our kind of top cost of living issues were, and thinking about potential solutions. And we've been learning about anti-poverty action, about research projects that are going on, and about support that's available to people in Argyll and Bute, and providing insights to local decision making. And I was trying to sort of keep it brief, so I haven't gone into the detail of those, but some highlights of what we've done. We had a panel member who was able to go and meet the First Minister during our annual Challenge Poverty Week. We had a great session on discretionary housing payment policy with Fergus Walker from our oversight group, where we've then been able to follow it through and say this is the feedback that we gave, this is the stuff that was found particularly useful, here's where we think we can make changes, here's where we can't, and also just to explain why it hasn't all happened yet and why some of it is going to fall into another Scottish Government review and taken to the next round. But I think that's been really valuable for both sides to sort of understand the complexity of the processes and of the experiences. We've done joint panels with our Aberdeenshire crew, and I had a fantastic one where Roxy was dressed up with a Rudolph pair of glasses and sparkly antlers on it. And for people, Roxy said another one for her has been about meeting other people with similar experiences and knowing that there is work being done to help. And as we move on, we're now, our panellists are now beginning to set the agenda more, which I'm really pleased about. Some things that they're particularly interested in following up on and that we're talking to local partners about are about fixtures and fittings being taken out when a tenant moves out of a social landlord property, and why this happens and whether there's a change to policy that could be brought about, and that's been based on experiences within the panel, and also about cost of food in local areas because of stores being classed as convenience stores. And Roxy is really keen in particular that we continue to push to get better representation for ethnic minorities in rural areas. And I'll just leave you with a wee comment from her. I tried to get her to say what she wanted to do more or to have a complaint, but being Roxy, she said, I feel privileged, honoured and humbled to be part of the panel because it's help out there for people. It's new learning for me too. We've got a lot more to do.